going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Speak Up Sports Podcast with Cass Christian Shire. What's going on, fellas? Goddamn.
Good, y'all.
What's
Can't
up?
get the
What's
mic
up?
right, goddamn. Yeah, man. End of the season, man. It's a sad. It was a sad ending to the well, with the season being over with last week. Not a whole lot of great games. Had a lot of teams playing their backups and stuff like that, with playoff positioning basically locked up. Really, it's kind of been locked up for the most part, like since like week 14, 15. Like, the Falcons and Bucks did a little switch for a quick second, but the Bengals tried to make things a little interesting. But obviously it wasn't that interesting in the end because Kansas City got blown the fuck out. But
They ain't even try. For real.
with the news of with the season being ending, obviously we get the Great Black Monday, or as some Stephen A. says, it should be called White Monday, because all the coaches get fired. But it really was a Black Monday because it seemed like a lot of black first-time head coaches, got the boot, as it usually happens like that. Was there any surprises for you guys in terms of openings thus far in the league, or what was you guys' thoughts in terms of all the coaching decisions that we've heard, whether a firing or lack thereof, and obviously the GMs as well?
For me, most surprising, I would have to say, none of the head coaches were surprising, really. I think the GM, Carthon from Tennessee, that surprised me the most. I just didn't think it would happen, and I didn't think it would happen without starting all the way over. You figure, like, when you had a number one pick, and this is probably what their ownership is thinking, like they got a true chance to reset this. They ended with a number one pick when it didn't look like they were going to get it a couple of weeks ago. So now it's like, okay, let's reevaluate shit. But then you fire Carthon, you keep the head coach. So and it's been a lot of mixed things over here in Tennessee about who was really in control there. How much control did Carthon have over, as an actual GM? And especially coming out saying that they're looking for
also an executive vice president, I believe. So that is also a title that he held, that he got.
He picked up right after when they fired Vrabel. So it's like you chose, and who's the hot commodity right now? Besides Ben Johnson, is Mike Vrabel. So you essentially got rid of Mike Vrabel. I don't know if it was a power struggle, but you basically handed that power over to Ron Carthon, supposedly. But now you get rid of him. So it's like, well, what are y'all really doing? Like, where are we going with this? And then you keep, and I don't think it's fair to the head coach that they have now. So it's just a lot of questions in Tennessee that have been raised, and I don't know what they do from here. Like, I understand Callahan had a rough year trying to find your quarterback, but I feel like he's getting set up again. You don't want to be that coach that you bring in the GM and that's not your guy, and you mess up and have a season, then you out in year two. And that could be what happens here if he doesn't get this pick right, he's gonna get this season right. So Tennessee, man.
For me, I'm gonna go with Joe Shane. I mean, I just felt like it was writings on the wall for him, especially with the whole. I mean, Hard Knocks didn't do them no favors, and for you to come into this off season and basically say, we can't really, obviously, what Saquon did in Philadelphia wasn't gonna happen to John because they have a bad offensive line. But for you to say, we want to build around Daniel Jones, and we can't really, afford to allocate resources to paying Saquon, we're gonna have to just, let him walk. Then to have to cut Daniel Jones or release Daniel Jones in the middle of the season, I feel like that's your job right there. Your justification for not keeping one of your, best player, favorite player by most is to pay your quarterback or put pieces around your quarterback. Then just to release him, that's a fireable offense to me. I mean, maybe not for Brian Daboll, even though I think that's a package deal, so they both really need to go. But GM for the Giants, if any GM, he needed to go. But
I found it funny that like the Giants, the Colts, the Dolphins put out those those statements.
Wait.
And I get that, something had to be said because all three fan bases were like, what is happening? What's going on? What's about to happen? But essentially, like in all three of those statements, really they express how the owners or whoever put the statement out really express how they were like displeased with how things are going. So it basically put them on the hot seat going into the next season. All three of those GM coach combinations, or however you want to say it. I just found that very funny. Like, damn, y'all putting out statements basically saying like, if y'all don't get this shit right now, you're gone, which is also a lot of pressure.
It is interesting because you do say that. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of interesting that the Falcons haven't put out one about Terry.
Yeah,
because that is, I mean, if Arthur has any type of pulse into his fan base, I mean, well, they're definitely talking about both Raheem and him, but I definitely think there's a sea of people that are looking or pitching the pitchforks for him. So
that's true.
It is interesting because it's like, so you're like recognizing that there needs to be a change, or I don't know. It's kind of fickle because it's so fickle because it's like, do you want to your fans? It's not to say that fans aren't smart or you shouldn't. It's not also to say that you should listen to your fans, but like it's kind of like a tough, to play because like. For instance, the Colts put out that statement. The fan base is not super happy. There's some people that are like me who's like, okay, it makes the most sense. But there's other people that are like talking about, I'm not going to renew my season tickets, which to an extent, some of that is kind of bullshit. They probably are. But I do also understand like, hey, the ticket price is going up every year and the team is not getting better every year. So what are we really doing here? But it's just tough because fans will say whatever, like truly, I would say that's probably been the most annoying thing about this season being over. It's like, God, every time I like look, just any fan from any organization is like, fire this guy doesn't know what he's doing, XYZ. And it's like, people are revisiting old things. Oh, we should have did XYZ. Well, shit. When you guys were talking, when this opportunity was open last year, you were like, no, fuck that guy. We don't want him. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, we should have got him. Like, okay. So
yeah.
Everybody talking about, all of these media members now talking about Dan Campbell. Oh, we need a Dan Campbell type coach.
Leader of men.
When Dan Campbell got hired, y'all were calling him every type of meathead. He doesn't know what the fuck going on. When he obviously had a bad first season.
Yeah.
He was a terrible coach. He had a bad start to the second season, and then they turned it around. But it was like you guys were calling him everything under the sun. Same thing with Nick Sirianni. Like you guys were calling him everything under the sun still to this day. And, he's one of since he started, he's one of the three most successful head coaches ever, like in that same time span. Like it's people are fickle, man. It's so funny. But in terms of surprises, I was actually surprised, like you said, about the Titans. I mean, really the entire AFC South, because, well, obviously not the Texans. They might have some changes whenever they leave the playoffs. But obviously the Colts keeping both Shane and Chris Ballard, the Jags firing Doug and then keeping Trent Baalke. And immediately after, like, it seemed like every agent in the world was pushing, hey, my guy is not going to want to interview there. Trent Baalke's there. So it's like that. The Titans, obviously, with the GM, it's a lot of weird shit going on. Like, people are like, should we
tear
why
it all
are there
down?
so many?
Yeah.
Why are there so many half measures?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's weird. It's weird. But in terms of the openings right now, obviously we've got the Raiders, the Jets, the Jags, the Bears, the Pats, the Saints, the Colts defensive coordinator position, the Browns offensive coordinator position, the 49ers defensive coordinator position, the Seahawks offensive coordinator position. It's a lot of positions open right now. Who would you guys say is the best? If it were you, where would you want to go? in either of those roles. Really, doesn't necessarily have to be head coach.
That's a tough one. That's
It's a lot. That's what it is.
There's a lot, but there's also a lot that I don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole either. Like, and I'll even say I don't even want to touch that 49ers defensive coordinator position. That shit seems, I don't know. Either you're getting a head coaching job or he's cutting your ass after a season.
You come back and be part of the squad.
That's crazy. Not touching the Saints. Can't do that. It's just a messy. That's just messy. They kept their GM earlier in the season. We talked about that a little bit. So you got that going on. The Jets, it's a whole new, thing there. But also you have the Aaron Rodgers question that, and then you're picking. What are they picking this year? 7, something like that. 9, whatever it is. They're not at the top, so you gotta roll with a veteran or roll with Aaron Rodgers again. And I want to say Jaguars, but
owner doesn't know what.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at this shit, man. The Raiders kept their GM. The Patriots kept theirs, kind of. If however much to say Elliott Wolf has. I don't know, man. Bears kept their GM. This shit that's the worst part about this. It's like you're going into a situation that is not going to be the cleanest fit because, like, how can it be?
Most of these GMs that are still there are on prove-it years themselves. So.
Exactly. So you sitting there going in a situation just like what Callahan basically just went through, and now he's sitting there without a GM, and you don't know really where you stand. Like, okay, how much say do you have in the next GM, if any?
I honestly feel like he probably does because the Callahans obviously do have some history in the NFL.
And maybe he does.
A little bit of a name to himself. So a part of me feels like maybe he was pulling a little politics there, and maybe they're like, hey, like, well, it's kind of weird because you can't. Will Levis obviously wasn't a hit. Anthony Richardson, you obviously can't say he's a hit. I don't know if you want to 100% say C.J. Stroud was a hit, even though they got to the playoffs back-to-back years. Bryce Young, obviously, we can't 100% say he was a hit either. So I don't know. Maybe if they're feeling like, oh, you should have traded up for a quarterback, and maybe some things would be different as opposed to waiting on one.
Yeah,
because it was rumored that they were a Stroud team. So.
Yeah, I guess to answer your question, I got to say Seahawks offensive coordinator, just because it seems
that's a safe one.
Yeah,
it just seems like that would be I like Mike McDonald as a coach. Did well this year, just for being a first time head coach. Did well. He still implemented his defense. He still got to get some more of his guys. So I'm pretty sure the Seahawks are going to make a lot of moves I won't say a lot, but some important moves this offseason. And then they got to get the offensive side of that right. You got to make a decision about if you want to keep all 3 of those receivers. I think you got to get rid of one just financially, and it just makes sense to get rid of one. It's not going to be JSN. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I'll say Seahawks OC. And
then also they got a GM that's entrenched too. A GM and obviously a first-time head coach that we think will be there. They don't seem to be the organization that moves off people quick either.
Right.
At least not based on history. What say you, Chris?
I actually would. It's gonna sound crazy, but I actually would be the D coordinator for San Fran, only because they have the pieces on defense. They have a good defensive core in general. I get. In my opinion, they got some young guys too.
Fred and Nick Bosa, that's it.
And then they got young your boy Mustafa. Now you don't like him?
I'm saying
they got younger pieces that you can work with. That's what I'm saying.
Hufanga is a free agent. Shavarius Ward basically said he's not coming back.
Dre Greenlaw, free agent.
You don't think they're gonna reach? So you saying you're basing off of what you thinking?
Hargrave.
He was injured. You're basing off on you don't think they're gonna re-sign Hufanga? I think they would. Why wouldn't you?
Sure. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, he'd probably come back on a 1-year deal. And that's probably what he's gonna have to do. But
I think it's still a lot of work to do for that defense too, though. But yeah.
But I feel like you as a if you were like
you got Fred and you got Nick.
As far as being a mastermind defense, you can work with that and build yourself up as far as getting another place. When you going into it as a head coach, like especially in these organizations, you got to be on, like, there's no room for error in my opinion. In any other spot, there's literally no room for error.
Yeah, you're right. It is. I don't know. It's tough because, like you said, like the OC, well, Browns OC is, obviously you'd have to assume that the Browns are in somewhat of hot seats. The Colts, I mean, they've got to be the hottest of hot seats. Um, you know, Seahawks, obviously we talked about that. 49ers, could they possibly be on the hot seat as well? Because my only thing about the 49ers is the bill is going to come due for some of these players. We don't know if Trent Williams will even be back next year. Debo, is he declining? Is he not? What does Ayuk look like next year? So looking at both sides of the ball for that team, it's like they're going to have, and if they sign Brock Purdy, they're going to have to start getting rid of folks. And it's not like they've been, in my opinion, they haven't necessarily been the greatest drafting team either. So that's really more so why I'm like, I don't know, just because they've got all these free agents where they don't really have young guys, like you said, outside of Malik, that you're like, okay, this is a dog. Like Lenore is a solid corner. Like, I don't know. So honestly, I mean, Patriots and Saints. You guys say you wouldn't touch the Saints. No. I might touch the Saints because number one, you know that you have some type of job security there, because obviously they kept Dennis Allen for this long. Sean Payton was there for, obviously Sean Payton's a good coach, whatever. Well, Sean Payton's a decent coach, but he obviously missed the playoffs a lot more, and he won a Super Bowl there, so it's kind of hit or miss. But, once you are able, you'd have to like sit down and come up with a legit plan that we're going to get out this money quick. Like, we're not going to keep doing this shit where we're pushing it down. Like, it's this year and maybe we'll take a little into next year. Like, we're going to take, but they typically draft pretty well, in my opinion, where I would be like, okay, I can trust Mickey Loomis it seems like he's entrenched there, like he's like Jerry Jones almost, like, or Rich McKay almost. So, he does a pretty, it seems like he does a pretty good job. But the Patriots, you've got a young quarterback. Robert Kraft appears to be a decent owner, or a good owner, at least when things are going well. I don't know about 100% in terms of the Patriots draft with Elliott Wolf, but I feel like Robert Kraft would also extend that check. So
that's true too.
I know. So those, honestly, the Patriots and the Saints would be the two, because I feel like the Saints could bottom out to a point where this year where they, you get a good pick next year and, things change. Now you're like, you can really take off. You've got a good GM that's doing a good enough job of replenishing talent and stuff like that. So got a good young man, and, they'll need another receiver, but you would have a good receiving core. Receiving core.
Thing about Patriots, though, I mean, they just fired somebody off of 1 year who was supposed to be one of their own.
Facts.
Who kind of look like some niggas that's on this podcast. So I ain't trying to touch
that.
Touch that shit either.
That's a conversation that's gotten a little nasty on the internet as far as quote unquote DEI hires.
I ain't worried about that, but I think it was more for me. It's more so like, bro, if you didn't. I don't know. I get Bill Belichick, promoted like, hey, this is supposed to be next guy up. But if you didn't feel that way, don't hire him, man. Like, you just hired him.
I don't think it was Bill, though. I think it was Robert.
What they made it. I thought that's what they made it seem like. But if it is him, then that's even worse. Because, like, bro, what's up with these one and dones? Like, you can't. That's beyond foul.
It's always gonna be tough.
It don't matter if it's black, white, red, orange, whatever. That's crazy. 1 year and you like, I don't know. Not yeah.
And I get it to an extent where I feel like Gerard Mayo was pretty much in over his head, and it's also that's no disrespect to him. That's not to say that he can't be, but it's the Bill Belichick way of things, and then following Bill Belichick as well. Following a legend is tough, which is why I've been like, we should give Baker so much more respect than he gets. Like, following a legend is tough. So to get somebody that's very green at the position, and you clearly saw throughout the year, like, he was fumbling over his words, retracting stuff. So I can see why Robert Kraft is like, look, I do love you, but I'm also kind of setting you up for some fuck shit, because you're not going to be good the next 2 years. Like, let's be real. Like, the talent level is not good enough for you to also not be to also be struggling on the coaching side where we can get, we see all the time. We see with the Broncos right now. People thought that they didn't have a lot of talent, but the coaching side has made up for it, even though he's had a lot of blunders that has cost him a lot of wins this year. You could say that like Sean Payton and like some of the things that he did, the Colts last year, like Shane Steichen, some of the smart things that he did to get people to draw off sides or something like that. Little small things like that helped the Colts, even though they might not have been as talented as some other teams to get wins. And the Broncos might not be as talented as some other teams to get wins. You're kind of hurting us, kind of like Matt Eberflus, like you're kind of hurting us in that aspect of it. So
I get that, especially like his side of the ball regressed.
That too.
And that's probably the main thing. But of course, they didn't come out and say that. But that's like when your side of the ball regressed. Like we get that your offense, like your receivers are Keyshawn Boutte and Pop Douglas and shit. But like you were always you still had a lot of the same. And even I feel like even Bill Belichick said it himself. Like a lot of the pieces are still there. Maybe he didn't say that.
He did. He said, they're really, he was at the beginning of the season. He was like, yeah, they're not good. A lot of the pieces are still there. I feel bad for them type shit.
Yeah. But it's like, you got your starting cornerback back. He played a full season this season. I understand that Christian, Barmore was in and out, but, mainly out, but it was just a lot of regression on that side of the ball. But I mean, it is tough. Like you said, Chris, like same thing with Antonio Pierce. We all knew exactly what was going. Everybody knew what was going to happen with the Raiders when they brought him in. They knew it. But still, it's like they still hired him. And why did you expect anything different? And it turned out exactly how we thought it would. And of course,
why did Tom Telesco like? What was his like saving grace? Brock Bowers?
I mean, maybe Brock Bowers and who the son of the guy, Jackson Powers Johnson, I guess.
Jackson Powers Johnson. I mean, it's not to say that he had a bad draft, but it's like, I mean, for the things that's been reported that he wanted Cliff Kingsbury, I mean, that was obviously at the time that was something that was talked about a lot, and that he wanted. I mean, we all knew that he wanted to get Jaden Daniels. He said it damn near every time he could. Mm-hmm. He obviously was on staff in Arizona State with Jaden Daniels. Devontae Adams also said it on that K Adams. I think it was K Adams earlier in the season before he got traded as well. So I mean, they kind of shafted him big time. But once again, when you have coaching blunders, it's hard to like go to bat for you as well. When it's like you were going through the back and forth with the quarterback position when obviously fucking. In my opinion, Aiden O'Connell was better. I think Aiden O'Connell is straight. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying he's good either, but he played all right. But I don't know. It's fucking tough. Yeah. It's tough. But I did also read that so this is also some things that are a little damning for Mayo is like I did read that he was they like kind of wanted Steve Belichick to be the D coordinator like he had been, and he was kind of like, nah, like. So that's also a red flag that he was leading a top defense. You let him go. Maybe because you wanted to get it from the Belichick name or whatever. I don't know what the case may be, but but yeah, they said Robert Kraft was the guy that picked Mayo, and that I guess the last couple years or maybe even last year, him and Bill Belichick didn't really talk too much. So that's the only reason I'm saying I don't think it was Belichick, because why would that matter?
That's true.
Yeah, so. But yeah, man, it's tough, man. It's tough, and I feel like should we even get into a hot seat watch? Because like, what everybody on the hot seat at this point. Honestly, it feels like. But man, let's go ahead and get into the hot seat watch. I mean, there's not too much. I mean, unless y'all want to get into some of the games. From I'd say probably the best games last week were the Falcons game, obviously Falcons Panthers. Really, I guess all the NFC South games in general. But aside from that, we kind of got a lot of duds. Like, I mean, I guess the Colts and Jags.
The Lions Vikings game didn't.
It was
live
good
up.
For the first half.
Yeah. But you clearly saw like even when Jared Goff was like tossing those interceptions, making those dumb decisions, pretty much it was like The Vikings can't do shit. They can't do shit. And then they got to the point where Sam Darnold was like everyone's been saying, he was seeing them ghosts. He was back there jittering. When nobody was close to him and shit. And he was selling a lot of throws in the first half, like everybody's been saying. That was bad. Of course, that leads to a lot of questions of what's going to happen, this upcoming weekend. But I guess we'll just see what happens with that. But not a lot of good games. Yeah, I mean, yeah. The Broncos made it in. Of course, they had 4 chances to get in the last 4 weeks, and of course, they wait till the last week of the season to do it against a Chiefs team that basically said, "Here you go." That
took out all the wind in the sails for anybody that thought that it was going to be. I mean, from the opening snap, it was like, "Damn, this shit."
Yeah, like, they ain't even put no.
Oh, I forgot to mention, and maybe does this throw a wrench in anything that you guys said? The Bengals defensive coordinator position as well.
Oh yeah. Which no. It doesn't change anything for me.
I don't want to spend no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what else? Other than that, like you don't want to see Green Bay kind of limp into the playoffs like you've seen. So this weekend will be a big chance for them to kind of redeem themselves and show they can beat some competition.
If the Eagles are not limping in the playoffs, according to them, Jalen Hurts is a major risk.
Yeah, man, he's gonna miss that game.
Stupid.
But yeah, I mean, it's really Cardinals offense put up 47 points, which got Drew Petzik a couple of interviews. Which okay, cool, but
I think Ben Albright has been saying that he was going to get interviews basically from like the first week of the season. So I want to say that he had it pinned, like his pinned tweet since like October. So I think it was a foregone conclusion. I guess maybe in league circles they've been talking about.
Interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's not much to say about that week 18, honestly, going forward.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting offseason. That's one thing we could say. It's gonna be an interesting offseason for a lot of things. We still got to see if the Jaguars end up firing their GM. I still have the Bears as kind of pending. I don't feel like Ryan Poles, for some reason, I just don't feel like Ryan Poles is set in stone. Had the Falcons announced a press conference for Terry yet?
Yeah, it's tomorrow at 11.
Tomorrow, okay, that's what I thought. Okay,
but it's still like
that probably pretty much solidified it for him.
And I think with Terry, real quick, like, and somebody brought this up, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can see why they would do that if he's thinking like that, if Arthur Blank is thinking like that, because Terry came into a shit show. You know what I mean? Like he came into kind of the same situation that we're in now. We got a dead cap hit that's going to come from a 36-year-old quarterback that he had to kind of build his way out of to kind of get back. So you don't want to put that on another GM. Like, Terry, get yourself out of this, and we'll see how that shit looks. And then we'll go to a new GM with a better, once that Kirk Cousins situation is finished. Because it just seems like just finish that shit off. We'll evaluate. The team is still sucking after next year, after the cap money's gone, then yeah, you probably gonna be out. But you don't want to
see. That's the thing. But in my opinion, it's like, well, I can understand that, but the bill comes due immediately as soon as the money comes, because you got to start looking at Drake London. You got to start looking at Bijan. I mean, Drake London, 100%. You probably got to start looking at him in the next offseason. So it's like, it's so tough. It's so tough. And that's why, like, the draft situation is so important, man. It's like, because you might get caught stuck in the same situation as the Colts. I'm telling you, them two teams are so parallel. So I was actually looking at it. The funniest thing, so I've been comparing the Colts and the Falcons, obviously, over the past few weeks, more and more. And I even mentioned, like, Kirk Cousins is kind of like the Matt Ryan in this situation. Outside of division games, and obviously it wasn't the same record, the Colts and the Falcons had the exact same schedule to a T from that 22 season. We even played the Kansas City Chiefs week 3. We played the Giants, got smoked by them. We played the Vikings, that was the major comeback. I mean, almost to a T, aside from the division games, like, it's so crazy just like how and obviously, like I said, the parallels, the Colts, that was just Saturday, firing coaches, all that type of deal. But I'm like so nervous that the Falcons are going to kind of get into the same position where it's like next year, what do we do with Raheem if we do fire Terry? Like, what do we do with Zach Robinson? Like, this is the OC that we want to keep with our coach. It's like, and we didn't even talk about Jimmy Lake either because
he needs to be gone.
He didn't get a
he didn't get a boot yet. Some people are speculating that Terry doesn't want to answer those questions tomorrow.
He didn't get the vote of confidence.
No, Raheem went to that press conference and was like, "I'm really disappointed in our defense. Like, it's going to be changes, like basically." But people like straight up asked him, "Is Jimmy Lake are you going to make changes with Jimmy Lake?" Everybody's being evaluated. Same shit he said when the week before he benched Kurt. So that coach talk. But then they asked him about Zach Robinson. He was like, I'm really proud of what Zach Robinson did this year. So it's a very clear distinction in how he feels about his OCs, his coordinators, which going into the season, that's very tough for you to do not first time head coach, but you're hiring first time coordinators on both sides of the ball. It's always going to be tough. Like yeah.
It's tough, man. But we can switch gears into the hot seat watch officially on this one, and it's going to be interesting because should we talk about some guys? Are you guys going to talk about some guys in the playoffs? You're going to talk about some guys that missed? Where are we looking at? So let's go ahead and kick off the hot seat watch. What you got for us, Chris? Take it from there.
Hot seat watch. So team in the playoffs is more specifically quarterback in the playoffs, and it's Justin Herbert. I mean, you got all the talent in the world. Everybody, been praising you throughout the years that you've been there. But, you only, last year or the year before last, your first time in the playoffs, and y'all sold the game. And y'all had Jacksonville dead to right, and you let them come back and beat you after being up 27-3 or 27-0, something like that. So, I mean, this is your opportunity to right your ship and write your own, I guess, write your own history in general. Like you got a good defense. I know their weapons aren't like as good as a lot of people, but you got a team that you can actually beat. So you need to go in there and take care of business and show us something. So got Justin Herbert on a hot seat.
I like that one.
Okay.
I like that one a lot. I was gonna go with Mike Tomlin, but I'm gonna switch gears. And I'm gonna go with Baker Mayfield, Todd Bowles. That combination.
Todd Bowles almost lost his job, boy. God damn, Todd Bowles almost lost his job.
They were playing with their fucking food, weren't they?
And it obviously didn't matter in the end, but God damn, that boy was staring. I know he had to be sick down that sideline.
He's sweating.
Imagine the whole defense just sat on that Mike Evans and they picked 60.
I mean,
everybody knew.
That shit was over though. But yeah, no, like
by that point in time, the Falcons I think had probably already lost, so it wouldn't even.
Nah, they was in overtime.
Yeah, we were going to overtime when that happened.
Yeah.
But we weren't winning that game anyway. But Baker Mayfield, Todd Bowles. Look, is making the playoffs, winning that bad division, is that enough? You know what I mean? Like how long can you just accept that? I understand you won the division 4 times in a row. You got a Super Bowl, and I get it, but that was Tom. That was different regime. You know what I mean? That was Tom. That was different. So how long do you accept just winning that division and being satisfied with it?
And Todd wasn't the coach either.
Exactly.
So keep that in mind.
It's a whole new regime. So like with this one, like I understand you won playoff game last year, but against like a team that was free falling. That honestly, Chris. So if you go out in the first round this year, something has to shake. And I understand, like your offensive coordinator is getting poached again. Looks like he's possibly getting poached again, I should say. But something has to shake with that organization. You can't keep accepting like, we just win the South and we're good. We're getting the playoffs. We win a game and we're good. We're gonna keep running this shit back. Like, no. Baker's 30 years old. Like Todd Bowles, like your defense is getting worse and worse every single season. There's still a lot of questions over there that you have to answer personnel wise. So if you let the Commanders come into your home this weekend and beat you, that's a Sunday night game. Just winning that division don't seem good enough to me. And as a Tampa Bay fan, I wouldn't be satisfied with that either. So you don't want to we'll see what happens Sunday night, but Todd Bowles, Baker Mayfield, you fold in big moments. We'll see what happens.
Be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
We'll see what happens.
Well, I think Baker at this point is probably Teflon. Like you done got him into the playoffs back-to-back years. You won a playoff game, obviously. He's got himself a time. Because I honestly think that they're probably heavily thinking like Liam Cohen, like we could just promote up, basically.
Shit, why not?
You know, so maybe. But for my hot seat watch, I'm going with all of the quarterbacks that are at a crossroads this offseason. I'm not going to include Will Levis because I don't think he's any longer at a crossroads. But Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers. Let's see who else. Derek Carr. I'm going to stick with you guys on my 5 main. Brock Purdy as well. All of you guys, for different reasons, have had, some people had an up and down season. Some people had a terrible season. Aaron Rodgers, terrible season. Aaron Rodgers, definitely terrible season. Derek Carr, terrible season. I would lean Anthony Richardson closer towards a terrible season, but he's he's like in between terrible and up and down. Bryce Young, you're like squarely in the up and down. Trevor, dumpster fire season. All of y'all have an opportunity. Well, Aaron Rodgers, obviously, you're coming to the end of the road. There are 100% going to be some teams that are interested in Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if you guys have still gotten an opportunity to watch his documentary. I came away from that documentary feeling a lot better about Aaron Rodgers as a person and what he does inside the locker room comparatively to like how he is outwardly to everybody else. There's a part of me that feels like he's obviously a hard worker. There's a part of me that feels like he was really banged up this season, and next season he could possibly be a little bit better, a little bit more mobile. Obviously, he's a year older. Who knows? But you need some PR training or something this offseason. Just shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Get better. Decide if you want to retire or not. We don't know if that was your last game or not. I don't think that you want to go out like that. I could see you maybe if you're like an 8-win team and you're like, we just missed the playoffs. That's a little different. Trevor Lawrence, bad season. At this point, like, I don't think anybody would qualify you as a bust, but given the hype, given everything that kind of came in with it, they probably should kind of qualify you in that realm or bust adjacent. This offseason, we don't know who your head coach is going to be. You're in a dumpster fire as well.
Head coach.
You're on your third head coach. We don't know if you're going to have what the GM is going to look like. There is talent on the team. You obviously have a star receiver. Travis Etienne, he's probably done there. I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna move about him, but Gabe Davis, you're at a crossroads too, my brother. But that's for another hot seat watch. But this offseason, get your body healthy, get right, get locked in, because next season people are going to be talking about, towards the end of the season, like if it's not a good season, we need to bench Trevor, so he's not getting any type of guarantees or anything like that. I promise you that's probably going to be the conversation. Kirk Cousins, I'm going to throw you in there too. I'm not going to go too long on you, but retire. Anyway, Anthony Richardson.
Hang it up.
Anthony Richardson. You got a lot of work to do because you got a lot of work to do publicly in the public eye. People wanted the worst for you from the jump. From the moment that you came into the league, you were the biggest bust that was ever drafted in the top 4 picks. From the day you came in, you have not proved that wrong at any point in your career thus far. That's what it is. You have to be the Colts are looking for somebody. The Colts have a lot of issues. They need to get some linebackers out of there, according to the rest of the Colts fans. I don't really care whichever way it happens. But, the fact that you attach yourself to a leader of that caliber, I don't know if that's the best. This offseason should be your first fully healthy offseason. Mechanics, out-of-pocket mechanics. From some of the stats have come out, we can clearly see that Anthony Richardson is not a scrambling quarterback. He's a passing quarterback that can run. But if you're going to be a passing quarterback that can run, below 50% is not acceptable. 50% is really not acceptable either, but you can get away with 53, 50 to 55, really, with the explosiveness that you have. Get your body right, get your mind right, get your mechanics right, get your out of structure mechanics right as well. And, next year you're going to be at a point this time next year where people are going to be like, Daniel Jones, whoever the fuck else, Aiden O'Connell, somebody, Gardner Minshew, get him in for Anthony Richardson. You don't want that.
Yeah.
Get right. Bryce Young, everybody's on your top right now. Rashad's looking great right now. Rashad's looking great right now. It was looking real rough.
Yeah, it was.
Rashad's looking great right now. Keep me looking great, nigga, because I've been the only person really, because people in the media go talk like, oh, we always believed in him. They were shitting on you.
Yeah.
I was the only person that had your back. It's the only person that had your back. Really, the only. You look like a number 1 overall pick, especially that last game. I mean, the Falcons' defense was the Falcons' defense, but he was excellent.
Yeah.
You got to continue that. You hopefully another season with your country receiver and Jake Coker. We don't know what's going to happen with Adam Thielen. You probably need to get another receiver. Probably need to get another running back because it looks like the star running back that you thought you were going to have, aside from Chuba Hubbard, because obviously he's a dog, but he's not going to play probably most of next season.
Yep.
You got to continue with your pocket mechanics. Obviously, there's something that you have figured out in terms of managing the pocket. You look 1,000 times differently, more he looks so confident in everything that he's doing. He looks like the number 1 overall draft pick that everybody thought that was a bona fide number 1 overall draft pick. Keep it up. Get right in the offseason. And who am I missing? Derek Carr.
Kyler Murray.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Kyler, yeah, you're going to have to get added to the list, too, actually. It's a long hot seat watch here. Derek Carr.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck you can do. You are who you are. I don't know. Try to get the Saints in the playoffs. Try to do something else to change what everybody thinks of you. You're a soft, kind of, no disrespect. I don't think you're soft per se, but you're always injured. People think that you're soft. I'm sorry. People seeing you crying on the sidelines, they think you're soft. I'm sorry. You got to get right. You got to get right. I don't think you're soft. I'm just saying what people out here, so I'm just saying what the streets are saying. Get right. Kyler Murray.
Man.
Request a trade. It's over for you in Arizona. It's over. You had this was your biggest shot this year. You had a weak division. The big dog in the division was a little pup, and you went out sad, tucking your tail. I'm sorry. No disrespect. I like you a lot. Ask for a trade. Go to New York and go for Malik, because whatever you got with Marvin Harrison ain't working. Go for with somebody, I don't know. I don't really know because it's a lot of the Jets. I don't know if you want to go forward with that, but go to the Jets. Go to somewhere that you feel like you got some pieces around you because you would have Devontae Adams. You would have Garrett Wilson. You got some receivers. You got a good running back. The offensive line, maybe with your mobility that Aaron Rodgers doesn't have, you can help the Jets out. But you got to get right because nobody's talking about you right now, even though they should be. And it's bad. It's really bad. The way that the season ended, it is very, very, very bad, in my opinion. And nobody's talking about it, but they should be. And then finally, I'm going to tail off with Brock Purdy. I don't know, sounds like your coach just gave you a vote of confidence about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means you're going to get a contract, but, from here on out, if you do get that contract, people are going to be hating. Everybody's going to be calling for your head from the moment that you sign the contract, whether it's 30 million, whether it's 40 million, 50 million, 60 million. It don't matter if it's 10 million. Somebody's going to say you trash. You don't deserve the 10 million. You got to prove them right. You're a Super Bowl quarterback or a quarterback that got to the Super Bowl. You played well against the Kansas City Chiefs. Didn't come out on top in that game, but obviously you had an opportunity to get there the season before. You got hurt. This season, you got to stay healthy because it does look like you're a little brittle for a guy that's 6 foot, 6'1", whatever he is. You in this season hurt. You got nicked last season. You got nicked the season before. Once again, you got to stay healthy. Gotta show that you're the force multiplier and get that contract. So all of the quarterbacks that are at a crossroads, and that's almost half the league. Deshaun Watson, seek counseling. It's time to retire as well. And that's what I'm going to leave off with. You guys are all on the hot seat.
I like it.
What about your boy, Le'Rod?
Russ got to show something this weekend to see if he can still stay in his league for sure.
Russ is at a crossroads. Russ been at a crossroads.
Yeah, that's
so
true too. That's true.
He just stuck there for now.
Tua, I'll add Tua to that shit too a little bit, man. It's you got to stay healthy. First off, this little injury that popped up at the end of this season, that's not what you want to have happen, especially when earlier in the season you missed 5, 6, 7 games, 6 games. I understand you had a healthy season last year where you made it through, but you're still all right now. All right now.
Oh, and that part, Trevor too, because we talked about it, but Trevor had the same, the fencing position. So that is also, people didn't talk about it at all, but that's going to be a point to watch moving forward.
Yeah.
So yeah,
a lot of quarterback questions in this league.
You about to have a lot of turmoil because we don't even need to talk too much about Tyreek Hill, but obviously he did his shenanigans this past week. And, we'll see. But, if he does get traded, Jalen Ramsey, Javon Holland is a free agent this offseason. We could start to see like a small rebuild given that he just got the contract and is soon to kick in. So if it doesn't kick in already this year. So, Tua, you got to get the team right. You got the vibes are off.
The vibes are bad. Off in Miami. Vibes are bad there.
The vibes are bad all throughout Miami, and we'll get into that after we get into our picks. But we can go ahead and get into the playoff picks of the year. See who. Well, we don't have to go through all the entirety of the playoffs, but see who comes out in this Wildcard Weekend. Go ahead and give us a rundown of last week, and we'll get into it.
All right. All right, week for me, I got 4 out of 5 right. Chris, Chris, you got 3. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong fucking shit. I got 4 out of 5 right. Chris, you got 2 out of 5. The only 2 that you got right were Baltimore and Cincinnati, since you picked the Rams, who of course didn't end up not playing anybody. Same thing with Kansas City, and then Minnesota. You picked Minnesota, that fell apart. Second half of that game. So you got 3 out of 5. The only ones you got wrong were the Kansas City one, and you also picked Pittsburgh for whatever reason. Yeah.
Let's ride. Man, boy, if I was Cam Hayward and that nigga put on that performance and then came up and talked to me.
Yeah, we got 4 games.
Bruh,
he's like, don't doubt it now. He's like, yeah, all right.
All right, bro, you put up 17 points. Like, basically, I don't think they cracked 17 points in the past, few weeks, really.
But that offense looked disgusting, which I'm not surprised at all in the least bit. But that offense looks so nasty, man. It's either deep shot, out route, or bust, and that's just bad formula, man. That's just bad formula and some bad.
Wait, I picked the Rams.
Bad, yeah.
That don't sound like me. I don't fuck with them. I don't fuck with them.
We're gonna run that tape back. You don't fuck with Seattle either, apparently.
Man, you don't fuck with Seattle at all.
I thought, bro, Rams fake demons. I've been saying this all year. Ain't no way I picked them.
You picked the Rams, dog.
That's crazy.
Total on the season, I'm at 59. Chris, you're at 68. Shy, you're at 61. So, but that's could change something, maybe.
Walk them down. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Obviously, the playoffs were solidified this past weekend. So we start off with the annual Houston 4:30 game on Saturday. Who you guys got? Houston or the Chargers at Houston? And before we get into that, praying for everybody in LA, because that shit is crazy. And obviously, there's going to be some game, football aside, there's going to be some stuff that's going on in the sports world in LA. So obviously, there's a lot of people out there that are probably homeless now, or don't really know what to do. So just want to show love for the Speak Up Sports Podcast.
Right.
Shout out to y'all.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, not anyway. With that being said, Chargers at Houston. Who you guys got and
why? My boy was on. I put him on a hot seat, but I expect him to perform well. So I'm gonna rock with Chargers. Man, Houston. as far as as the year went on, like their offense has been just dwindling. Haven't been performing well at all. I mean, they do have a good running game with Joe Mixon, but they're going up against a tough Charger defense, and I think Justin Herbert he's gonna show up this time. He's gonna show up and put on performance and not let himself get walked down. So I'm gonna go with the Chargers.
Something in me just tells me it's going to be one of those walk down situations where Herbert's going to have the chance to put the game away and he doesn't do it, and CJ pulls off some shit to keep his name in everybody's mouth. And right or wrong, I got Houston in this one. Not super confident in it, but they are the home team. I'm going to rock with them. I mean, we'll kind of just see what happens, but. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going with the Chargers. Clearly, everybody in the AFC is spiraling at this point,
Yeah,
so I have no faith in what Houston's put on tape the past few weeks. Obviously, last week notwithstanding, back and stuff like that. But the Chargers are Justin Herbert has been balling all season. Some of the games that he needed to step up in, he obviously did down the stretch as well. I just think that he knows this is a big one. Jim Harbaugh knows it's a big one for him as well. And not to say that D'Amico is a bad coach per se at all, because I don't think he is, but there has to be some questions for how Houston has been this year. It can't all just be Bobby Slowick. It can't be just the offensive line. So, his name, I think, will start coming into question at the end of this year with this game as well. So, not in terms of being fired or anything like that, but people might just start looking like, it stinks over there in Houston.
Yeah, what's going on over there? They're gonna start questioning, like, is he the right guy? I understand but again, it's that kind of thing with Todd Bowles. You're winning a bad division. Is that something to hang your hat on? I don't know.
Which is kind of like, not to get too into it, it's like that's what also makes like the rest of the AFC South moves curious. Like the Colts, like clearly they feel they're. I think the Colts have the best roster in the division. I said that at the beginning of the year. Clearly they're slow. I don't know what the fuck they got going on in the locker room, but clearly they might think that they shouldn't be in this position. The Titans, same thing. It's like the Jags, even the same thing. It feels like they all feel like, I don't know, like they're trying to decipher, like, why are we not dominating this weak ass division? We all feel like we probably, maybe outside of maybe Tennessee as well with all the free agent additions, they're all looking like, hey, we all feel like we probably might have the best roster in the division. So it just makes everything curious. But Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Let's ride versus the guy that supposedly is a playoff bust. Who you guys got on what?
Man, it's not even gonna play with this, man. The Ravens won't win this. Steelers not good. Offensively, they're not good. They're not put together. It's trash. It's nasty. There's nothing good about it. What else can I say? Any other adjectives? Ravens gonna win. Matter of fact, fuck it. They're gonna roll on that motherfucker. Yeah. Whoop their ass.
Oh. I got the Ravens too. I don't think like this Pittsburgh team, like I said, the offense is disgusting. It's nasty, and that Ravens defense is clicking right now. It's going to be it can get very ugly. It can get very ugly. I understand that the last game that they played a few weeks ago, it was close until it wasn't. They had those back-to-back turnovers, and Russ ended up with a pick six that kind of ended that game essentially. I don't think it gets even that close this time.
Yeah, a lot of people have been saying that, like that they acted like that game was so close, and I'm like, it was in terms of score, and then obviously Russ had the pick six, but it's like they were going, like the Ravens were about to score, and when they threw that pick as well, so like I don't, like they were really about to score, and it was a miscommunication, but part of me is a little nervous with Zay Flowers probably being out this week. I don't know. The receiving core I am still not super high on, especially now that Deontay Johnson is not there.
Yeah.
And it will be interesting to see what he does in the Houston game. But I am going to go with the Ravens as well in a 10-point game. I think, the Ravens gave a little bit of bulletin board material. I don't know if you guys seen the video circulating around where they said Lamar's clone is soft like George Pickens or something. I could see him having, yeah. Well, it's really hard because I saw it. Well, actually, I just saw it. They started showing it on the TV shows now, but I saw it on Twitter and I was like, nobody said that, so I thought somebody made it up. But you had to like put some headphones in and actually listen because it's like very far in the background. Like somebody's like, "Oh, it's like George Pickens soft." But anyway, so I can see George Pickens having a little a little play here or there, but his name will also very soon become into question after this game as well. So getting into the Sunday games, and we've got tonight kind of starts a very great week, next few days, 6 days of sports. Obviously, we've got the Cavs and OKC playing tonight. We'll get into that a little bit later, but then we've got 2 college football playoff games back to back, and then straight into the NFL playoffs. But Denver at Buffalo being our first game on Sunday. Who you guys got and
why? Man, let's go Buffalo. I got Buffalo. I think it's gonna be a good game actually. Contrary to popular belief, I think it's gonna be a good game. But Buffalo, Josh Allen gonna prove to be too much for Denver. I'm hoping to see a good performance out of Bo Nix for his rookie year as a quarterback in the playoffs, but I think Buffalo's going to take care of business on this.
I don't think it's going to be a good game. I say that trusting that Buffalo's defense comes out with the right mindset of stopping that run, first of all, and stopping the screen passes that they love to run. It's a very we'll see what kind of wrinkles that I get. Sean Payton's a good offensive mind, so we'll see what kind of wrinkles he kind of comes up with. But also, you don't want to put Bo Nix in a situation. I understand everybody's going crazy over what he did last week against,
me.
Yeah, exactly. CFL players, but let's come back to earth now. Let's come back to earth now. Let's see what he does. I don't think he's going to live up to it. I think Buffalo is not going to play around with their food in this one. I think they're going to handle business. I think they win by a pretty large margin.
I think that Buffalo gets off to a slow start, and we see that Denver maybe on the first drive or first or second drive they go and go down and score. But I think Buffalo towards the end of the second quarter and second half kind of start to get right and take off. And then by mid fourth quarter they kind of have it comfortably because they know that they're going to have a dogfight that next week against the Ravens. So I'm rocking with Buffalo, but I do think they get off to a little bit of a slow start. Obviously, Josh didn't play last week. Get into the next game. A game full of questions at the quarterback position, I guess. Green Bay at Philadelphia. Who you guys got and why?
Question.
Question.
Obviously, I got Philadelphia. This will be another actual good game. 2 good teams. Unfortunately, obviously, Green Bay's in a great division, so they end up having to get the 7th seed. I mean, playing it 2 other division, they probably would have won the division. But I'm looking for the Eagles come out ready to play. It's gonna be important that they get that stop that first drive because Green Bay, they always ask for the ball first. We always defer first. So either way, they're gonna get the ball first, and we don't want to see what happened last year. They got the ball first against Dallas, went straight down to score, almost like it was a shell shock, and they just rolled from there. So I'm looking for our defense to come out like they've been doing the past month or so, come out on fire and get us kick started on the right path. And I think the Eagles gonna win.
I think Green Bay, I get Matt LaFleur is a good coach. I think they have a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions on this team that have to be cleared up, especially this offseason. We'll kind of get to that as well. It's going to rear its head. What are you going to do with Jair? He's not playing this game. Your pass rush is pretty much non-existent. Lucas Van Ness, he's I had him as a breakout player this season, and that hasn't come to any kind of fruition this season. It's been all right, but nothing like a first round pick should be. The offense, you lost your deep threat and Christian Watson. I get it that you still have Wicks. He got to hold on to the ball. And you got Reed, but he has to show that he can be a number 1 guy, and I don't think he is a number 1 guy. It's gonna be tough for them. It's gonna be tough. We'll see how much they can use Jacobs in this game. Like they might have the game plan like we saw them use a couple times where they come out and just try to pound the ball. And I think the Eagles defense is I think they understand that and know that. I'm going to go to the Eagles in this one. I think Green Bay's questions are going to be amplified. The roster questions are going to be amplified with this one because I think they have a lot of work to do this offseason on that roster on both sides of the ball.
I'm gonna rock with the Eagles in this one as well in a low scoring, close game. Well, not a low scoring, but in a close game. Probably a 3-point game. You said that Green Bay has a lot of questions. This is probably one of the biggest games for the Eagles since the Super Bowl, honestly, because obviously, given everything that happened last year, if they lose this game, especially because of all well, I don't want to say it's silly because you could have gotten Saquon the rushing record or whatever, but especially after everybody was talking about the rushing record and should they go for it, especially after everybody's been saying stuff about Nick Sirianni and the Eagles kind of shutting them up. Yeah, they've been saying, the Eagles have kind of shut them up all season. If they lose this game, it's going to get super hot in Philly very quick because nobody's going to expect Saquon to replicate this next year. They're going to start questioning, depending on how Jalen Hurts plays, they're going to start questioning him. It's going to start getting back into the Bill Belichick conversation. So I really think this is a very important game for the Philadelphia Eagles. Given the fact that Christian Watson is out, is one of the main reasons that, because I think to your point about the Packers having some roster questions, I think that that this offseason they'll be looking for a number one receiver, a true number one. And that will change a lot for their offense just in general. They're obviously a potent offense, And then in terms of defense, I mean, Max Crosby is going to be a prime candidate that everybody's going to be talking about trade. Obviously, Myles Garrett made his comments as well. I don't think he gets traded. I'm not saying that Max Crosby will get traded, but there's going to be a lot of conversation about that. I can see, they love to link those white, no disrespect, they love to link those white pass rushers to Green Bay. I can see Max Crosby becoming a very heavy Green Bay destination. But yeah, I'm rocking with the Eagles. And like I said, in a 3-point game. So
man, speaking of that Saquon shit, that shit's so fucking that shit's so lame because my only issue is, yeah, okay, let's say he broke the record. Are y'all telling me that because he broke the record, if we lose the first game playoff, everything is cool? It's not. He gonna be in the hospital regardless. What the fuck are y'all talking about? What does that matter? They said, well, you better win the Super Bowl now. If he broke the record and we lost the first game, y'all gonna be on Nick Sirianni's head.
That's all you're gonna say.
So what the fuck are we talking about? But yeah, that shit was.
But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of questions. So this is probably between Philly and Baltimore is probably the most they're probably the two teams that. Not a lot of people. Baltimore, obviously, everybody's talking about. Not really many people are talking about Philadelphia in that light, but I do think that if they were to lose, it would get.
I feel like both teams would have to get to the Super Bowl in order for, and if they're going to lose, it has to be in Super Bowl in order for the conversation not to be as nasty as it's going to be.
I think that if the Eagles get 2 really good Jalen Hurts games and they lose the divisional round. I don't think depending on because if they would play what
probably Tampa Bay. It depends on who. If Tampa Bay wins and we think if Tampa Bay wins, then we'll play Tampa Bay basically.
It depends. Yeah, I would say it depends on the matchup. It depends on the matchup. But I think one of the most important things is that if Jalen Hurts has 2 really good some really good games because obviously outside of the Super Bowl he hadn't been he wasn't great in the first playoff run. I think they played the Bucks,
and then the second one he didn't have to do much.
He didn't have to do shit against the Giants. So it's it's not necessarily his fault, but last year it was just kind of like a funk or whatever the fuck they had going on. But now getting into the next one, a team that Cass said could be very much on the hot seat. Tampa Bay hosting Washington. Obviously, Washington kind of having a magical season on their end. Who you guys got and
why? This is I'm not gonna say it's a tough game, but it's an interesting game in the sense of you got a rookie quarterback playing, but I mean, for all he's been doing this year, if he gets to the fourth quarter and the game's close, he has been making plays. I will give him that. He's been making plays, but I think this is one of them tie ball games. He actually starts dialing up some crazy ass blitzes and get him rattled a little bit. I'm a roll with Tampa Bay on this one just because I think that their defense can actually cause some issues and get to Jaden Daniels. So I'm gonna roll with them. I'm gonna roll with Tampa Bay.
I think complete opposite. I think that defense is going to get work this game. I think a lot of the same kind of things you saw throughout the season kind of rear its head. And just their lack of ability to cover zones is really bad. If you really watch them, like Tampa Bay is like, and they don't do a good job of tackling. And if it's like that against Jaden Daniels, it could be a rough day. It could be a rough day for you. So I'm gonna go Washington to pull this off. We'll see if Baker can keep up. I think it'll be, no, I don't want to say shootout, but both teams I feel like are going to drive down the field. And it'll be who makes the mistake first, and I think Baker will end up making a mistake in this one. I'm gonna go Washington.
I'm going with Tampa Bay in this one. Baker's actually has obviously been a really good playoff quarterback in his career. And I think that we got the bad Baker game last week against the Panthers. Because, it's not to say, well, first of all, that touchdown to freaking McMillan, my Lord, boy, Baker's so nice, bro. But anyway, I think that was kind of like his bad slow game. I also think, what was it, Jordan Whitehead? Weirdly, when we found out the news, because he ended up getting in a car accident, and clearly his injuries is going to hold him out for the rest of the season. Weirdly, I felt when we got the news that was kind of like a big miss for them because they were already missing Winfield. And for some reason, I just feel like that was kind of like a hit for them in the locker room, just emotionally. I think this week they saw the worst at what it could have been with them losing that game, and with them pulling through. I just think that they go ahead and roll in this one in Washington. Their magical season comes to an end, and we'll start talking about some pieces that they need to add to kind of better their team. But I think that might be one of the games of the week though as well. So because it very well could be a shootout. And then for the final game on Monday night, I really don't like these Monday night playoff games. Just do 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. I feel like that's, obviously they're going to play, whoever wins on Monday is going to end up playing next Sunday.
Right.
But it's just a little weird. But anyway.
And then it's possible that game gets moved. They're saying that Arizona's the backup state for it. It's just
which will make that kind of, in my opinion, would throw a lot of stuff off. But Minnesota at Los Angeles, the Rams this time. Who you guys got and why?
I got the Vikings. Like I said, I don't like the Rams. I just don't think they're good. I don't think they're good. I don't think they have a good defense, to be honest with you. That's just my personal opinion. But I think Sam Darnold's gonna right his ship from last week. Last week was bad for him. It was pretty bad. But I think they're going to lean a little more on Aaron Jones this week and get Justin Jefferson involved early. Hey, that's the playmaker, man. That's the unguardable at that point. So you need to get him going early. And Brian Flores is going to tell Matthew Stafford. I really believe that. So I got the Vikings.
It's gonna be a tough game. I'm gonna go Rams with this one. At home, I think Matt Stafford will end up making enough plays. Sneaky big injury is Blake Corum out with a broken forearm, out for the postseason. He was kind of coming along towards the last few games of the season, spelling Kyron Williams, and in the last game, of course, the one that Kyron didn't play is when this bad injury happens to him. But I think it's gonna be tough in that defense. I think Puka has a crazy game. You got to be careful about those blitzes that you send if you're Brian Flores, because if you're leaving your DBs out there in one-on-one situation with Puka, it can get really ugly. And I think Matt Stafford takes advantage of that. I think the defense just does enough to impact Darnold. I think Darnold had some bad tape put out against him last week, and I think teams will incorporate that shit in to kind of rattle him. So, and I mean, maybe he'll prepare for it. Kevin O'Connell's a great coach, but I got the Rams.
I also have the Rams in this one. Obviously, this game a few weeks back was kind of the kickoff game for the Rams to kind of get back into the playoff push. That was the game that Puka, he came off of IR and then played. Nobody expected him to play, and obviously he went crazy in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he goes as crazy in this game, but clearly, when you can't guard somebody, I don't think that it changes this time. And obviously they had the Vikings a little rattled in that game as well. It was a game, Jared Verse had a pretty good game, and then it ended with what was it, that weird safety or whatever.
Was that the missed face mask game?
Yeah, that was the missed face
that
mask.
was also the game Christian Darrisaw got hurt, so they didn't have a replacement.
Yeah. But with that being said, I think this is another one that's a very, very close game. Where probably a game-winning field goal is the difference between either of the two teams, whoever does win. But yeah, I'm rocking with the Rams. I just think that Sam Darnold's first time in the playoffs for Matthew Stafford. I don't think will get as rattled from the blitzing and stuff like that, and then all the stuff that's going on in LA, the real life stuff that's going on in LA. Typically, I feel like you kind of get a little. You see, initially, you see that team typically get kind of a little push. So I also think that they will be kind of, fighting with that as well. So
since both of y'all said that, let me ask you this: would a loss change your opinion on what they should do with Darnold after having the year he had and then losing the first round?
Probably not for Shy, because he said he was on the franchise train, and that's where I kind of lean towards if they do lose. I was on the train to sign him, but again, it's at we'll see what the money looking like, what the market for him is. But if they lose, I would franchise him, because why not? Yeah, you're not franchising anybody else in that roster. I don't know who else. They have cornerbacks coming up for contracts, but they might go to the draft for that. I don't know, but like, who else are you gonna franchise? So I would franchise him, and kind of go from there and see, if he can recapture that, bring him back for a season, and trade him if you need to see what's going on with that. But yeah, that's where I kind of lean towards with a loss instead of a multi-year contract.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily sign him to a multi-year contract regardless. And if I did, it wouldn't be like obviously top of the market, but it would be something that would be a tradable contract that a team could take on mid-season. Regardless of what happens, that would be the biggest thing. Is like, look, I'm not going to 100% commit to you. He has to understand that as well. But, I will commit to you to an extent. But if I feel like J.J. McCarthy, is the real future here, we could ship you to a team that makes sense. Like, we're not just going to send you to the Wild. But
right.
I think that, he could find, he could find a spot with Tennessee. I mean, Brian Callahan's a good head, seemingly a good head coach, good offensive play caller. We've seen what they did with Mason Rudolph. Obviously, Will Levis has had plenty of big-time throws, big-time touchdowns and stuff like that, aside from his interceptions, turnovers, and stuff like that. So I could, Tennessee, I wouldn't, I could see them giving him a contract, and then that frees them up to go get Travis Hunter, a real, but obviously that's getting too deep into the weeds. We don't know what their GM is going to look like and stuff like that. But it wouldn't change my mind. We've got 6 years of tape already. So. Yeah, but that gives us a wrap for the picks in the NFL season. Before we do switch over to the NBA for a little bit, if Mike Tomlin doesn't get the win, do you guys think that he should look elsewhere? I mean, we were talking about this last year. What do you guys think he should do?
Yeah,
or they should do?
That was a hot topic today. Shady, it started early with Shady McCoy on the facility, bringing up the fact that Andy Reid had that
6-0, man.
We'll see how the rest of that game go. But Andy Reid had that kind of resurgence just from being in a new place, and sometimes, and we talked about it, it's even true with players too. Like a new place, some people need a new change of scenery or whatever. So with Mike Tomlin,
EJ Speed.
With Mike, like I get it. It's the Steelers. They don't make decisions like this usually. They stick with their guys. I get it. But it might be the best. It might be the best idea. You got to be smart about where that is. I don't know where that is, and he just did do an extension. But and of course, people brought up like the Bears, right? Because they want a leader in there, a cultural setter, and you have your quote unquote quarterback in place and stuff like that. I don't know, but I would lean towards keeping Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, but I get the questions about it though. I get it, and we'll see what he wants to do.
He probably gonna stay. I mean, Pittsburgh one of the few organizations that they done had 3 head coaches in their whole tenure. Like they don't just fire people, and it's probably more up to him if he wants to leave. And I mean, I don't know obviously his coaching option.
Why would he do that?
Right? Why would you I don't think he would leave. I don't think he wants to leave. I don't think he has a ill feeling towards about staying there or not. So I think he's gonna stay as long as. He's gonna stay.
I hope he gets an opportunity to kind of bottom out and
That's
gets
the
the
only
opportunity.
Right.
I hope he gets the opportunity like where Pittsburgh kind of bottoms out and they let him pick his quarterback and kind of go from there. Because I mean, technically, he's never. I mean, I don't want to say never truly because obviously he did take Kenny Pickett, but for real, that was kind of like you had to take something, but he's never really had like his pick up quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So, hopefully, but I also think it was a little bit overblown. I mean, so many people are upset with these teams that are accepting mediocrity. You're accepting mediocrity, but now you're upset with a guy that's always getting into the playoffs and always having seasons. It's like,
yeah,
what do we really do here? But I don't know. But switching gears in the NBA, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, we are, big game. Technically, what is it? The biggest game between two of the winningest teams in NBA history, really, at this point in the season, with the Cavs and OKC. The NBA has done a really good job of kind of promoting that over the past few weeks, but don't really want to get into that game per se. Obviously, we know those two teams are really good, along with the Celtics and some of the other top teams. But Jimmy Butler, got to touch on it. Obviously, we've heard a bunch of nonsense from him over the year, whether he wants to get traded. His agent has gotten into some spats publicly with Shams and some other guys in the NBA media. We finally got word that the Heat are open to trading him. What do you guys feel about that entire saga, like how it's been handled, and some of the conversation about Jimmy or Pat Riley and stuff like that?
I mean, I don't know, because it's almost like everywhere Jimmy has been, it's been some kind of crazy shit that doesn't happen right before he leaves, and it's just like Jimmy's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but like, are you like him to be like to command the what you're demanding out of everybody? Like how he's acting is just like I don't think your performance has dictated or should have allowed you to act like the way you're acting. And then it's like at least like the last few years in Miami, it's like you're not even available. You're not available most of the season. You're hurt in the playoffs. Then you like to start talking, saying this, that, and the third. Like we could be anybody. It is what it is. I'm this, that, and the third. And it's like y'all really not. I mean, let's be real. Y'all team, at least Miami in general, team is really ass. They're not good. But I mean, I don't know. I just find it funny that you get reports about the trade, and then you as your agent come out saying it's all a lie. It's just like it's not. But I don't know. I don't think he's helping himself out. To be honest, I don't think so. A desperate team gonna obviously go get him, but he's not helping himself out.
It's nasty. Where this has gone, but like you said, Chris, you can't really be surprised. And we talked about Miami the last few seasons, how we didn't really like their roster. Yes, they end up making the postseason as the 8 seed or whatever. And then, of course, one of the years, a couple of years, they shock and beat the 1 seed, make a little playoff run. But this roster has not been it. It just hasn't. And now you're looking at now Jimmy Butler's 35. To do all this shit when you were 35 years old, who do you expect to bend over and yeah, that was crazy.
I was like, where you going with that?
That was crazy. That was crazy.
Yo,
That was crazy.
Where were you going?
Who you expect to believe in you?
Yeah. So who do you said to like? What was I trying to say? Bend over. What was I trying to say? I don't know what I was trying to say.
You were trying to say make people kiss his ass.
Not even that though. But who are you expecting to make this
bend over backwards?
Bend over back. Thank you.
That's what you were looking for.
Good shit, y'all. What to say?
Thank you. I knew it was something.
Freak name.
Oh man. No, but who you expect to make this move for you? Like, let's be real. And of course, the main team that's been rumored to do it now is the Phoenix Suns, which, of course, like you said, Chris, desperate team. Which, what is that going to end in? Nothing. It's not going to accomplish anything. And now they bench Bradley Beal. And Nurkic's been trash anyway. But like, yeah, Jimmy Butler, man, you too old to be, and you're talking about getting a new deal and all this stuff. Like, what are you doing, bro? You're 35. Like, this is it. Like, this is it. You're 35. You're injury prone as fuck. Like, this is it. I don't understand why he's doing all this. Why I got to this level. It's not a good look. It's not a good look for the NBA. It's not a good look for him. It's not a good look for Miami either. But yeah, this shit is nasty.
It's not a good look for him or the NBA, like you mentioned. But yeah, it's like, bro, like what? I mean, I hate to be like the player like can't say anything, can't request, but it's like, dog, like I feel like there's just so much better ways to handle it, and like. Yeah. The goofiness between him and his agent, his agent arguing with people and, blocking people on social media and stuff like that. There's a lot of people are trying to come out and be like, Pat Riley thinks he's bigger than, bigger than the team or bigger than the Heat or whatever, bigger than the players. But it's so funny because like some people they'll complain and say, oh, LeBron is controlling everything and AD forced his way out. These guys are soft, but then it's Pat Riley thinks he's bigger than, it's like, once again, from the start of the show, I said people are fickle, and that's exactly what it is. But yeah, man, it's just Jimmy Butler. Like, it's not because, part of the reason that the Heat have been stinking is because him and Bam aren't stepping up to the plate. And, it's not like he's a guy that's out here averaging 28 and, they're struggling. Like, he's averaging like 17 and yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, bro, you gotta, you could say that you're not you don't have to be the scorer, but like, yeah, you do. Like, this is what the team requires of you. You have another all-star. You have another, Team USA player, all defensive player on your team. We've said that we don't like the roster in terms of the name, but Max Strus has been a good player there. Gabe Vincent was a great player there. The Martin, I can't remember which Martin Caleb was there, was really good with them. You've had good players here and there. Like, so it's obviously it's not the big names. It's a lot of role players, but that's what you really need in this shit. Like, you need role players that know their role, they're playing their role. That's really how they beat the Celtics. Like, it was Jimmy Butler doing his thing. Obviously Jason Tatum got hurt as well, so that's a major factor. But it's just, well, like you said, where are you going to go? Because the Suns are ass. Once again, people try. I have no disrespect to Kevin Durant. I have no idea what soft spot people have in their heart for Kevin Durant in terms of always picking him to be like a top, like picking his teams to be tops when every season we've seen they haven't. But, and then we start getting into that, like the Bradley Beal portion of it now. The Heat have put out that they don't want Bradley Beal. We don't know what the fuck's going to happen with Bradley Beal. Like,
he don't know why he was benched. He came out and said that. It's just, it's so bad. Nobody else wants him.
I was talking about me earlier with Bryce Young, but who's more right now than Nick Wright in the Austin Reeves conversation when he said Austin Reeves is a better three than Bradley Beal? How has that looked? how's that been looking? So a lot of people were calling him an idiot for that, but lo and behold, the guy got benched, and now he probably not gonna be on the team. So what? But yeah, man, I don't know where Jimmy Butler ends up. I don't know who he helps really. Like I said, if I was the Timberwolves, Julius, get the go. No disrespect to you, my boy, but you're not a fit there. Maybe you could get right with the Heat. The Heat ain't gonna let you do all that bullshit that you be doing out there, loafing.
Timberwolves really messed this shit up, man. They're sitting at 18-17. The Cats putting in work this season. Over in New York,
caliber player.
Like he's putting in work, which of course we all knew that he had the talent to do it, and Tibbs is going to play him the minutes to do it to look like this for sure.
Bodega, nigga.
But yeah, Minnesota butchered this shit, man. That is not a good look, especially coming off a Western Conference Finals appearance. That was and we questioned it when it happened, and it's proven right. It's proven right every single week that they drop games to people that shouldn't be dropping games to, even with Anthony Edwards scoring 53 and 39 and 43. That's such a bad look, man. All I
can say is GM on the hot seat, man. I mean, you what? Not how long ago was that? 2-3 years ago, you traded all your picks to go get Rudy Gobert, and then now you traded.
As soon as that looks all right, the first moment that is like, okay, maybe that shit was worth it. You fuck up again, it's like.
You trade it,
that's tough.
Yeah, that's
what are you doing?
That's horrible.
What are you doing?
And then watching a team like the Cavs dominate with the two bigs, kind of
facts
model.
Yeah.
And this season specifically, so it's so funny.
So it's like you can't say that it can't work because they're showing, like you said, Cavs showing that it can. You got two bigs. One of them is in a stretch role, which would have been Cat.
Coming off a Western Conference Finals appearance, man. All right.
Yeah, we said that. Well, I know I was one that was like, I don't know how it helps either team, and obviously, clearly, well, I don't want to say clearly because the Knicks were.
They had to find their groove because they started off very bad.
Yeah. Oh, they've been in a pretty good groove over the past few weeks as well. Like they're another team that's been ascending pretty well. But obviously they were already good. We'll have to see what it looks like in the playoffs and stuff like that. But it's. No disrespect to Julius Randle, but God, man, people have been banking on you, and it's seemingly like it keeps failing. So that's why Miami, get them right, get the mentality right, get the defense right. So.
I ain't trying to see Julius and Bam though. I don't know, of course.
It's nasty. It's very nasty. It's very nasty.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's very nasty, but send over Rob Dillingham or something too. Shit,
They gotta do something though.
They got to do something. I don't know where else Jimmy could fit, to be honest. If the Cavs wanted to do a full power move to really compete, if they have any type of hesitation and feel like they really need to compete with the Celtics, maybe. But who the fuck is leaving the Cavs? I don't know.
Do you do Milwaukee? Do you get rid of Chris Middleton finally? I don't know. That. I don't think it'll work, but I think it's an option. that's a little better.
The Nuggets could possibly be an option if you want to try to do the Michael Porter Jr., but even then it starts to get a little ugly because that's definitely no shooting there, and it's how does that really look? So it's I'm trying to think of teams that are would be good or competing. Do the Lakers want to take a swing at Jimmy?
Is it worth it?
Is it worth it? The Suns, I definitely don't think it's worth it, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, man, that gives, touch on the NBA a little bit. The NBA is kind of in a good spot right now. You've got a few dominant teams, like I mentioned with the Cavs. The Knicks have been really good this season. OKC, obviously, the Celtics as well. And, it's starting to kind of pick up a little bit. This is going to be a huge game. This Cavs OKC, obviously that's going on right now, will be a huge game to kind of kickstart it. But It's getting a little, it's picking up a little buzz. I'm liking it.
Which is
I
it's
did
it's
see-
the right time for it. It's January. It's a new year.
They
All Stars
gotta
coming up in a month.
This game has to be it has to be a good one. And thus far, I mean, it's a 4-point game right now. It looks like it. So
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that gives us a wrap for another episode of the Speak Up Sports Podcast. We will catch you guys after some playoff football next week. We'll see you then.
Yes, sir.